good afternoon, and welcome to Rubbin Minds. My name is Isabella Adediji. We start off the week looking at some good news. Thankfully, the Orire children and teachers are back after what seemed like forever in captivity. The news flushed in during the week that they've been released, but in the same vein as we're celebrating their release from captivity, we also remember the Borno children who are still in captivity, and we pray and we continue to urge the government to do everything possible to ensure they are reunited with their families. And this brings up so many questions around security, around our institutions, around the agencies of government responsible for our security. And joining me for a very important conversation, especially as the countdown to the 2027 general elections is on. I have with me a lawyer, Justice Ojieno. Welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to join you.
Thank you for honoring our invitation. I mean, I saw the videos when the children and teachers were released, and I had so many questions going through my mind. Just the length of time they've spent in the forest, how long it took, and I also remembered the children of Borno that are still in captivity. What do you make of this situation? Is this going to be a regular occurrence?
Unfortunately, I think it will be, and I'm not happy saying it. And it's going to be until the political capital is made available to ensure that it doesn't continue. I also significantly feel that a lot of this came up as a result of politics, politicians playing dirty politics with people's lives. And I think that it really showed back in 2014, 2015. And unfortunately, politicians are not letting this go as one of their bargaining chips and one of their pathways to power. So I feel that until that is really done, there will not be an improvement. It's going to be cyclical, it's going to be repetitive. Our prayer is just that it does not become worse, because again, it is the Nigerian people and Nigerian children and teachers that are the token in this political chess game, in a manner of speaking. So I pray that we get good leaders, we get great leaders that at least will put the interest of Nigerians above their crass hunger for political power. By the time we have it, and we have people, solid people, manning law enforcement, and by that, I mean whether it's the state police that they are touting now, or the federal police, or the armed forces, unfortunately, that has been drawn into local police affairs. I feel that there will not be an improvement until they are manned by the really square pegs in square holes and round pegs in round holes, and people not just being appointed just because of political allegiance or what their surname is.
And for the Borno children, how soon can we expect their release? If this is all politically motivated and we're seeing the Orire children and teachers back, surely the political class is watching. They see that Nigerians are talking about it, are demanding answers. There are families that are not able to sleep, not able to breathe, because their children are still out there. So if they can be rescued in Oyo State or wherever they found them, surely the same can apply in the north.
I want to pray first that it is rescue and not some form of bargain. And unfortunately, I heard that one of the persons that led the team earlier was fired, because at some point too, I heard the military say the bandits were telling them that they were coming too close, that they should back off a bit. So I want to believe that it wasn't some form of negotiation that brought them back alive. And of course, words are still on the street that the number of persons rescued were actually not the total number of persons that were captured. So if that is true, I pray that the remaining persons, if they are not unfortunately killed or in the bushes or in the forest, I pray that they are also rescued. And as for when I expect the Borno captives to be released, I want to pray that it's also very, very soon. And whatever bargain, because I do not necessarily believe it's a rescue, our government has not been very, very forthcoming to us. Whatever bargain they are making in order to be able to bring the Borno captives back, I pray that it is not one that will dip us further and further into deeper trenches that will empower these terrorists and embolden them to be able to come back with bigger revenges. We shouldn't be having situations where initially it was just one person, two person kidnapped, and we are now having the Orire saga was even very, 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 very shameful. They went to the first went to the first school, went to the second school, went to the third school. The finger deeply in the eyes of the government, daring the government that there is practically almost no governance in what essentially seemed like the last bastion. The Southwest looked like the last place where the terrorists couldn't really take, and they did it so brazenly. So I feel that, well, the government, whatever bargain, ensure that it is not one that will make us need much more resources in order to be able to maybe take the release of much more people in the nearest future.
And this leads us to the conversation at hand, which is public trust. At a time when Nigerians are preparing to go to the polls to cast their votes for the next leader and set of leaders, how confident are you in the institutions to uphold the tenets of democracy and ensure that the political process is transparent and our leaders are accountable?
In order not to sound so strongly as a pessimist, and when we're talking about institutions, INEC will definitely be one of them. I want to believe maybe like when Mahmoud Yakub was thumping his chest and promising us heaven and earth in the last election that it's going to be the best election that we've ever seen. And unfortunately, when it became one of the worst elections in the annals of the history of this country. Having that in my mind, I want to just be as optimistic as possible and say that maybe this new czar of INEC will do better by the Nigerian people. But if we check the bites at the apple that they've had the Abuja Municipal Area Council elections. The jury is still out as to whether they conducted it well, because there's nothing final that says that it was an excellent election that was not hampered by corruption and institutional failures generally. But the Ondo State election, it was easy because the Ondo State governor was almost unopposed by any viable candidate. So I want to believe that maybe the Ekiti election will give us a or Osun State, I think it's Osun State election, will give us it's Osun State. Yeah, will give us a very, very good idea of what to expect in 2027. But if you leave it to me, and I'm not talking on national TV, I don't think I will be as optimistic, because there are bad signs already out there to show that it's going to be one of all the same.
I mean, if people don't have trust in the system, then how do you expect them to engage actively? And this goes beyond showing up to get a PVC and voting. This also means holding leaders accountable, and that's from the president right to the local government chairman. What needs to be done by this administration to restore confidence of people in the process so that all of us can play our part to ensure we get the dividends of democracy?
Okay, for me, I feel that, and I've said it, I think, on this platform before, that the personnel manning some of the institutions, the government needed to have, maybe it has missed the boss when it came to people appointed to such institutions. I felt that if a Mike Igini had been appointed as the INEC chair, maybe Nigerians would have pivoted, because they know the integrity and the fight of the man against corruption. So going forward, people that will be used to man various maybe state recs and all, they should be people of unwavering integrity. So if that's put in place, they may be able to claw back some of the confidence and the trust that they've lost when it comes to the Nigerian people in the institutions of government. And even the law enforcement, unfortunately, that also participate in our elections too. They should ensure that it is not partisan. I like what Mr. Disu, the Inspector General of Police, went to Osun State to do. The fact that he had the courage to arrest some APC hoodlums, at least suspects. They will have their days in court in order to actually defend their innocence. So, and they can try to inspire more confidence, law enforcement confidence, INEC REC confidence. We've lost the chairman a bit of it, REC confidence. And the way they also approach the Nigerian people, we will unfortunately also want EFCC to also step up. When I say EFCC, I mean maybe people who are buying votes, maybe at the election booths, they should have them arrested. DSS, unfortunately, again, it's very, very shameful that we have these institutions participating actively with major budgets in our elections. It's not supposed to be. Elections are not supposed to be wars. People go to lunch. America even has mail-in voting. You vote on top of your dining table, and you mail the vote, and it counts. That's the way Donald Trump also voted in the last Florida election. So we should, as much as possible, try to reduce the participation of insignia of force in our elections, in order for us to know that elections are not war. And people that actually threaten during elections, are threatening maybe people by their tribes and things like that, we should have Mr. Tunji Disu, have them prosecuted, made an example of, so that people will know that you are safe when you are going out to vote. Gadgets that are also meter elections, for example, the beavers, the e-transmission from the polling units they should be made to work. And they shouldn't just be made to work in less significant elections like maybe the state governments are not. To the presidential, we should have real-time reportage of what the votes and the franchise of the people are at various polling booths. Those are a few of the low-hanging fruits that can actually significantly reboost the trust that people will have in our elections, because we must always remember with trust, don't lose it. If you lose it, you have to work 10 times as hard in order to be able to try to regain it.
Definitely, trust is not built overnight and is also not lost overnight. How would you rate this government when it comes to the fight against corruption? Because that has been the bane of this conversation, with insecurity, the kidnapping, the rescue versus ransom, and now the polls, the elections. Corruption keeps rearing its ugly head. Do you think the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration has done enough to fight corruption?
A lot shows that, unfortunately, it hasn't. It's not even about doing enough. Has it done anything significant? And it's not me. Don't take my word for it. Take the people who are supposed to really, really fight corruption in Nigeria, the law enforcement agencies, core function, corruption, EFCC, ICPC. We've seen some moves that EFCC has made with respect to corruption. It looked to us, as Nigerians, that they were going to do right and they were going to be courageous by the Nigerian people with the Yahya Bello saga. And we have seen how it has played out till now. It looks like it has really, really dissipated. And Yahya Bello is walking free. Now, I'm not saying he's not being prosecuted, but he's almost winning an election as we speak. What of the number of people also that have been investigated? We have the case of Okowa in Delta State. What's happening with that case? It looks like the big dogs, they get when the government wants to do its braggadocio, wants to demonstrate its braggadocio in the nation, they just do significant media trial, and there is no meat to your trial. You go to the courts, you read up the cases, especially with the PP, the politically exposed persons. There is nothing to it. And unfortunately, even before this government, when they get convicted, what happens? The two of them, two major ones that were convicted, two major governors that were convicted, what happened? They were given presidential pardons because they are the elite. They must not be made to answer for their crimes. So I feel that this government essentially has had its opportunities, especially with significant people, and it has really, really squandered it. And I can't even see what they are doing. I'm not moved by the numbers that they bandy about. EFCC can come to say that, oh, they have so number of people convicted for corruption. I'm a lawyer. I know how it works. A lot of them are plea bargains. A lot of them are small fries. There is nothing significant. There is nothing essentially really is going on in the fight against corruption as I see it as a Nigerian. They still have many corrupt people within their ranks that they can use to show an example of. I'm not saying it's impossible for any country to stamp out corruption, but the essence of the criminal procedure is deterrence. You must make one or two people significant examples so that everybody just knows that it is not, is not something that is a culture. Because it's also said that culture will always eat strategy for breakfast. You have to ensure that you stamp out the culture. Your strategy essentially doesn't matter until the culture is significantly dealt with. And I feel that if you want to deal with the culture, it starts from the top. So you have to use people at the top that have found their hands in the till. You must hold them accountable. If you don't hold them accountable, really, you are just wasting the EFCC budget as far as some of us are concerned.
No, and then what we see is essentially, to borrow your words, media trials. Things come before the media. We see moves being made, but the follow-up, the stories just seem to dissipate. I mean, just last week on the show, we're discussing the PFIPC, and so many questions have been raised. There have been statements from the presidency, from the DG, and it feels like Nigerians have more questions than answers. And it's almost becoming a regular occurrence because we don't see the end. What must we do as citizenry to ensure that these media trials don't just start and end on television, but we have judgment and the rule of law prevails?
Yeah, so you see, some of us, because we're in the system, especially in the prosecution, legal system, we are not really carried away by media trials. There are a lot of things that happen on social media that doesn't even touch a strand of hair on some of us, because we already know that the meat of every trial is the investigation. If the investigation is not watertight and you have a fair judiciary, it doesn't matter how many hours you broadcast it on TV or on any social media platform. It doesn't matter. Investigation has to be watertight. An investigation is not conducted by the judge. Investigation is conducted by law enforcement, the EFCC officials. That's number one. Number two, are you also having systems of witness protection for some of the people that will participate in the trial? The witnesses that are going to come against these significantly powerful persons, are you protecting them? Because if you don't protect them, we'll have a situation where a witness has already given a testimony of how corrupt this politically exposed person is. And at some point, he was going to come back and flip. And sometimes in giving their testimony, they will give something very weak. And the media is usually not there. So we are not following the trials step by step, even as citizens, as we are supposed to follow it. Because at the end of the day, the judge is a neutral party. He is supposed to rule based on evidence. And in criminal trials, the standard is beyond reasonable doubt. If I'm to put it in mathematical terms, you have to prove it like 90% in criminal trials. So if a witness comes and he brings a shadow of a doubt, which is the standard for the defense counsel, if they bring a shadow of a doubt, or if they bring reasonable doubt, which is like less than 10% or something in the area of 10%, the case will be tossed. The case will be tossed because of the eternal rule in criminal prosecution that it is better to let 99 guilty persons go free than to punish a person that is innocent, because it's going to be significant travesty. Because the 99 guilty people that are going free, you can always get them on other charges, on other crimes in future, and to use to put them and quarantine them from the general society. So because of that, it is very, very important as citizens that we follow up the case. We don't just get carried away by their emotional blackmail, because it is government. They just want to emotionally blackmail, emotionally destroy, engage in Goebbels level propaganda. So that must be significantly fought. We shouldn't be like the cat that is moved about by every flicker of light. We should stay the course, like lawyers do in matters like this.
And I think that's the hope of every Nigerian, that we do stay the course, especially in this fight against corruption.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Justice Ojieno, for your contributions on Rubbin Minds.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Don't just stand there teasing me. Now